Good afternoon, everyone. Hello once again for the second session of mine this morning. And thank you for being here for this, The Eternal Sun, the Legacy of Surya Deva. Now, from Vedic times, Surya Dev has been worshipped as the giver of all life. Surya is symbolized by light, by wisdom, by energy, life, and is the soul of the universe. In this book, The Eternal Sun, Shalini Modi delves deep into our ancient sacred texts, into folklore, rituals, long-held beliefs, spirituality, and more, to bring us up close and personal with the almighty Surya Dev. So Shalini, let's do this quickly because we're really racing against time here today. What made you choose, this side, what made you choose Surya Dev and not, for example, Vishnu or Shiv or anyone else? Also, two other questions right at the start. Who did you write this book for? Was it for children? Was it for young adults, or all of them? And what is it that you want them to take out of this? Is it a sense of discovery? Because there's so much that you've written about that I'm sure most people don't even know about. Or did you want them to be inspired by your Surya Sadhana?
So I think to begin with, the book just fell into my lap, and I kind of connected it to various things. So Rupa Publications actually asked me to write the book on Surya Dev. And then I was pleasantly surprised because I started my Surya Sadhana 12 years back and started connecting with the luminary in various ways. Like I love watching the sunrise, the sunset, and of course I chant the Aditya Hridayam and offer water. So all of that kind of just tied in when I was asked to write the book. Also, my destiny number as per numerology is number 1. So I felt the sun's energy was kind of playing out in its own way. Your second question was, who did I target when I wrote the book? So for me, I think this book can be read by all age groups because there's no really censored information here. And in fact, it's a set of interesting stories over various texts like Puranas, Ved, and even from Mahabharata and Ramayana. And now the goal. So one is that it could interest you further into reading the scriptures because there are many interesting anecdotes and stories. And when you connect to the scriptures, you want to go back and delve more. One door opens the other. So I think one is just as simple as that. And secondly, of course, there are different characters like Surya Dev, his 2 wives, who are very interesting characters, and his progeny, Yamraj or Dharmraj, Shani Dev, Tapti Nadi, and Yamuna, and Revant and Ashwini Kumara. So each have a story to tell. And through these stories, they set examples for you how to lead your life. So it's also, in a way, kind of teaches you how to lead your life. So the multiple goals can be achieved. It, I think, depends on what you're really looking for.
Thank you. Lopa, now, as an anthropologist, you study humans in the social, cultural context, in the philosophical context, and you study their beliefs, their behavior, folklore, their social mores, their values. How important do you think it is for the younger generations to know about our ancient texts, myths, beliefs?
Hello. Yeah, thanks for, yes, very interesting question. And actually, if you happen to look at the stories which comes out, I mean, not only folklore, but stories that comes out of all our surroundings, from families, from school, from teachers. So there is a power in narratives as it is. So when the power actually kind of reflects itself more when you can relate to it. And that is where actually these storylines from oral traditions have a lot of connectivity, because they have survived within a certain socio-cultural context for a very long time. Yeah, we have books now, but that is a very recent thing. We have publications and all for the last 150, 80 years. But these stories have been part of that socio-cultural context for a very long period of time. So that's where that connectivity of that narrative comes in and creates the bond. So a lot of history, which may not be part of mainstream even books, are often alive. Say regional, absolutely regional, local history might be alive, and I have seen that through these folklore, folk tales, mythologies, which may not have found a place in books, as in what we read about history. So that ways it's very important for to carry the message forward for the younger generation to have a know-how of what really things were in the past. And that's the important thing where we are standing right now. Probably take out some kind of a plus point out of it. And with a word of caution that at the end of the day, they are storylines. Stories do develop over a period of time. They travel orally, a lot of addition starts happening. So things really can't be taken for absolutely the word of mouth as per se. But on the other hand, it's absolutely true that all over the world, the strength of folklore lies in the fact that it carries the socio-cultural context forward.
Thank you. You know, like the Roman and Greek pantheon of gods, our Hindu deities are also very robust. They mirror our human traits, our foibles, our attributes, and that is how that is what makes them more relatable.
Relatable, yeah.
We can identify better with them. So, what about Surya Dev appealed to you the most? Also, what are some of his traits that are very interesting?
Okay, so I think the story, now that we talk about relatability, I think an interesting story was that he was not such a handsome person. And he had his energy, his light was overwhelming, which bothered not only his wife, but the world. And there was too much energy, too much heat, which he didn't realize. And so one day, his wife decided to run away because she was scorched by his heat. And
she kept his eyes closed,
she
and he was
either-
very
yes.
displeased.
So either she kept her eyes closed in his proximity, or she would blink them, and her color had drained. She had become scorched of energy and color, and so she ran away to her parents' house, and which was quite a bold move. And then she tells her father that I'm going to be here. I'm really tired, and I need some time off from my wifely duties. And then when the father really bothered her, kept telling her, go back, go back. So she decided to run away from her father's house also. So
She creates a doppelganger.
yeah, absolutely. And she is having this fun time being a mare in a meadow. And that's when Suryadev suddenly realizes that this was a problem. And then he comes to his father-in-law and he says, what is the real problem? Why did she run away? And he says that, unfortunately, it's your looks. So, but I can help you, because he was Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods. And he said, I can help you if you're open to it. So he was ready for his makeover, and the father-in-law takes him to this island where he puts him on a lathe, a rotating divine lathe, and then he cuts off his extra parts, out of which he creates the Pushpak Viman, he creates Shivji's trident, and he creates the Sudarshan Chakra of Vishnu. Now, with this new makeover, Suryadev looked handsome and he went back to woo his wife. So I think I loved this story and I thought it was very relatable to today's, especially the feminist ideology, I think.
And I love the fact that, they're really like children sometimes. There are temper tantrums, there are petty jealousies.
Absolutely.
They misbehave, but there's also realization that I've done something wrong. So they try to make amends. They woo people they love. It's all very human, very like us.
Very, very.
And yeah. So back to Lopa. Lopa, for you believe in scientific deduction. You're a person of science. And to the extent that you have stayed with tribals, you really spend time with them, studied with them to try and find out about their habits, their culture, their practices, before you come up with a publication based on your deductions. So how do you marry the hard facts of science? Because you're also into mythology and writing. How do you marry the hard facts of science with religious beliefs and myths?
Yeah, so this actually took a lot of field training, and it's just a lot of reading, which couples up with, factual historical reading. So when you go out on the field and you gather some kind of a data, you come back, and the first thing that you most importantly do before you write about it is to fact check the data that you have gathered. And just like I mentioned, that there are stories at the end of the day, and stories evolve over a period of time. So there is a lot of additions to that, which may not be true. And more or less, it takes a lot of toil to really understand that which part are the added parts and which maybe a little tiny bit of it might be true in the entire story. But, and around that, the entire narrative has evolved over lengthy, several centuries have taken for the narrative to get into the shape that we are getting exposed to right now. So this took like some 20 years of field training and library work, and I still definitely go back to the books and the library and the archives if I come across something which really interests me, to really fact check instead of taking everything by the face value. Yeah.
Okay. Now, myth and mantras. There's, for us here, the Hindu concept of divinity and our relationship with divinity is based on both myths, mantras. How is that relevant, first of all, to the sun, with specific reference to your book, The Eternal Sun? And what do you make of that? If you could expand on that.
Sure. So mantras basically are sound vibrations created, or either they just dawned on our sages in the state of samadhi or extreme meditation. And they were just not random sounds. They do create a kind of a positive vibration of different kinds. And that is the strength of the mantras, say Om being the mantra of creation. And even the Gayatri mantra, which is so popularly chanted, dawned upon Vishwamitra ji. So, but these mantras all are just not there by themselves. They all have backstories. And like you said, the myths. So now these backstories support these mantras in a way that if you've heard the stories, you can understand. So not just understand, but you can also kind of connect to it, right? So say the story of Aditya Hridayam, the stotra that I said I chant, and my book begins with it. Yeah. I was really intrigued when I read the story in Valmiki Ramayana about it. And the story goes that Lord Ram, while he's fighting Ravan, and this is like a scene, you can say, from the last scene of Ramayana, where he's really tired, he's given up, because his opponent is not an ordinary opponent. He's a very strong scholar, as well as very well versed in the art of warfare. And being a Rakshas or a Daitya, he has an advantage over Ram, who is just a human in this form. And he can do many tricks. He can disappear in the sky and all sorts of things. Now, there are these Saptarishis who are watching from above this fight, and they see Ram. And Agastya Rishi walks up to Ramji, and he says, "Oh, you're very strong, Ram. Don't give up. You are going to kill Ravan. So concentrate on the Suryadev and his pure knowledge, his energy." And then he describes all the qualities of Suryadev. Because Suryadev somewhere represents this light of knowledge which removes the darkness of ignorance. And he also gives you that self-confidence and strength. So I also, like correlating it to science, I would say that many countries which don't receive sunlight for many months experience many suicides, increase in suicides, and people going into depression.
Yeah.
And
Sweden
it's
being
because,
one example.
yeah, so he does give you a lot of confidence. And the moment he was told to chant the Aditya Hridayam 3 times, and the moment he chants it, he's filled with energy, and he picks up his bow and arrow. And Suryadev, looking up from above, knows that now, the world is going, it'll be a win of dharma over adharma. And he says, Ram, make haste, like jaldi karo, now it's time you kill Ravan. So this story, when I read the story, it really kind of infused a connect to Suryadev. And so I feel these backstories, like Lopa also said earlier, these stories might be symbolic to something, and they definitely connect you to the deity and to his mantra.
Great. Okay, Lopa, it's great to be in touch with our past, with the theories, the traditions, the myths, the beliefs. But how does one safeguard against blind faith and fanaticism? There is sometimes an almost irrational belief, an unquestioning belief in supposition, and that can lead to a lot of friction and regression. So how can that be guarded against? Keeping that intact, that we need to know our past, we need to be in tune with our past.
It's a very relevant question, actually. As more time passes by, there's a very important question, and something that often has come my way in different parts of India, different parts of South Asia, and there have been cases where I should not answer also. There have been very different kind of cases, but at the end of the day, what I do take a stance is when I write, my introduction of all my books, when my books are gathered from field works, 3 years, 4 years, compiled across the length and breadth of India. That's where I make it a point to really introduce that when you are listening to stories, there is something that comes with a blind belief, and something that really comes with learning and reading about a certain aspect. So that being said, it's a difficult thing to educate everybody, but I always leave with the thing that read, and that's when you really get to enlighten yourself. And by read, I also, which I tell my students, that not some random thing, but creditable places, creditable sites. There are numerous, many of them, even at the touch of a button on the internet. Yeah. So yes, this is a very relevant question, should be addressed, and it should not be like I say time and again, stories are stories, but there might be factual references within that. But that's where I make it a point always to put that entire explanation in all of my introductions, how I collected the stories, what I deduced from them, what are the religious parts of it, what are the non-religious parts of it, etc., etc. Yes, it's something that probably only, according to me, can be done through reading and knowledge. That's it.
And I think that's so important
Very
because
much
in
so.
the first session we discussed how important it is to read.
Read.
Because
Absolutely.
reading gives you knowledge, and there is no
Very
power
true.
on earth
Very
that
true.
can rival knowledge.
Yeah.
Certainly not religion, not anything else.
Absolutely.
You have to know, you have to have your power of deduction
Absolutely.
and judgment. You have to be able to get whatever you want out of that and then form an opinion that can stand on its
Very true.
feet,
Very true.
not on something that's gone back. And I wanted to tell you, I know there may be places you've had to tone down, but thank God this is AKLF and this is Calcutta, so which has a time-honored
So
tradition.
yes, there are
of-
instances I prefer not to
Yeah,
say, but the underlying word is read.
yeah.
Read creditable, good books, articles, newspaper, journals. I mean, we live in a beautiful time. At the touch of a button, internet. When I was doing my PhD, everything I had to do manually, even scanning maps and everything, all manually done. It's a beautiful time. Everything is available to you at the touch of a button. So use those things standing at your doorstep.
Absolutely. Great. Shalini, in the Ramayana, you've got Surya Dev is treated as a cosmic deity and also as a source of personal strength. I'd like you to dwell on that and tell us two things. One, what is the kind of research you had to undergo for this? And how difficult was it? What did you learn that you didn't know before? And why do you think it is important to be in this space where the sun, the power of the sun, the power of Surya Dev is important to your life and impacts on it? So three parts.
So I think the middle part I'll start with, about the research part. So research was difficult because stories of Suradev are fragmented over various texts. And sometimes they're even incomplete in one text and the backstory could be in another one. And many times the same story has been told differently. So you have to choose what resonates with you and what you want the world to know through you. So all of that, and also the stories of his progeny, they are all scattered in different texts. And sometimes even folklore has some interesting stories which I had to connect together. So that was where the research happened. And I'm sorry, but I forgot your other questions.
I talked about the research, Ramayana.
Yeah,
The
the
fact
Ramayana.
that he is seen as a cosmic deity,
yeah.
also a source of personal strength.
So personal strength, of course, comes from the story that I just mentioned about Lord Ram praying to him.
Yeah.
And him being the cosmic deity. So him looking up and being able to give that kind of energy to Ram. Also, there's another very interesting story from Valmiki Ramayana about Hanumanji, which is partially known in the sense that he ran after him thinking it was a fruit, like an orange fruit. He was hungry and he ran. Now, most of us know that he devoured him, but as per Valmiki Ramayana, which is the first text I would say for Ramayana, in that he goes running for Suryadev. Now, Suryadev sees him coming, but he doesn't harm him because he knows that his birth is to aid Lord Ram's victory of dharma over adharma. So he could have actually stopped him, but he doesn't. Now, this child suddenly sees Rahu, who has come to devour Suryadev, and he gets very excited. He says, oh, this fruit looks even bigger. So he starts running after him. And then he sees Indra coming, and he sees his Ravat Hathi, this big white elephant, and he gets attracted to him. Then he's running after him. So all of this chaos happens, and he comes in light as this very bold child, you know, who's fearless and, you know, thinks he can do anything. And suddenly he's struck by Indradev. And then when he's struck and he's brought back to life, so that's a long story, but then all the Devtas start giving him boons. And interestingly, Suryadev says, when you grow up and you need knowledge, you come to me. So again, this whole thing about him being the light of knowledge that removes the ignorance of darkness. And ultimately, when he was of age, Hanuman goes back and learns all the knowledge from him. So,
Yeah, I also asked you a third part. There was a third part to the question. Why do you believe that it is so important to be able to commune with or have a relationship with Surya Dev? What do you believe it does for you?
Okay, so partially for me, being a believer, someone who has faith naturally since childhood to our deities, I connected with Suryadev 12 years back, but that's because I learned a chant from my teacher, the Aditya Hridayam, and then one thing led to the other.
By the way, I just want to butt in.
Yeah.
I know you say it every day,
Yeah.
but is it by heart or do you read it?
So now it's by heart, yeah. And like I started watching I started by giving water and chanting it during sunrise. So then I got attracted to watching sunrise. Now wherever I go, I look forward to that moment of watching the sunrise.
Not sunset.
So yeah, so then I started giving water in the noon and sunset. And now I love watching sun in all 3 times. It looks very different at the 3 times, but it's kind of my connect to the deity. Partly it could be faith, but partly it could also become, it's also a ritual that attracts me now. And I feel, but if we remove the faith part of it, and I feel he is the source of life anyway. Scientifically also, if we see, there would be no life. The photosynthesis in plants happens because of the sun. And then those plants are eaten by animals. Animals are eaten by animals. So the whole food chain is there. And nothing is possible. He's the source of vitamin D. He's the source of confidence. As per Vedic astrology, he is the Atma Karak of the horoscope. So even as per Vedic astrology, a strong sun gives you self-confidence, gives you good connections with your father, with the government, because he's also considered to be the king of the horoscope. So again, there are so many multi-facets to the sun, whether you take it scientifically or you take it as per astrology or as per faith. So you can use what connects you to the deity, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shalini. Lopa, your work took you to Sri Lanka. You were posted there. And there is a strong presence of Ramayana there. Could you tell us what are the similarities or the differences between how they view not just Ramayana, but their worship and ours? What are the differences? What are the similarities?
Yeah, so the relation with India and Sri Lanka, needless to say, because of geographical proximity, it practically dates back to more than 2,500 years. And there were relation because of parts of Sri Lanka were directly under the control of the southern part, the southern king, the Chola Empire, basically, which extended till round about central Sri Lanka. And there is, of course, a sense of influence of Buddhism, which they revere both of Ashoka's, the son and the daughter, Sanghamitra and Mahindra, who were sent over there and with a Bodhi tree sapling. And that's how Anuradhapura, the very first capital city, came up. So, and there are murals which speaks about that entire story, Mahindra landing there, later on Sanghamitra landing there. So there is a monastery of nuns and the priests, the monks, the males also. So there are murals which speaks about them, there are stories which speaks about them. Very interestingly, apart from these, there are many influences of which one can actually, in their day-to-day, everyday life, from everyday building architecture, pattern of houses, pattern of furniture, very closely resembling places of Kerala. Because of the Portuguese influence, very closely resembling places in Daman Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli. Clothes, patterns of clothes. Yeah, incidentally, this is a Sri Lanka sari I'm wearing right now. So the pattern of weaving, the influence had greatly from Trivandrum. And coincidentally also, fortunately or unfortunately, the last emperor of the Kandy region was imprisoned by the British and sent over, arrested, sent over to southern India. That's where he led his last days. The relationship, apart from religion, practically spans through society, culture, trade and commerce. Whatever we see right now is just a culmination of what has evolved over a period of time, including now this is a very interesting discovery that I made inside the Colombo National Museum. Our Pottochitro, the Bengal Pottochitro, they have something called as a pettikada. There are scrolls in display, huge, massive scrolls in display, which speaks about the Jataka stories, the life of Buddha. And there are some beautiful I had a time going through their collection inside the Colombo National Museum. And the influence, the drawing pattern, the sketches have all complete direct connection from the Bengal Pottochitro and the Oriya, the Odisha Pottochitro art, the sketch of the eyes, the collection, the selection of particular colors. So it is just all together rolled into one. Or spending time looking into, observing them closely, one by one, actually you can really gather the information. It was a brilliant way to see how India unfolds. Still, they have their genius own paths reflected through them.
And their interpretation
The
of the Ramayana,
interpretation,
which
yes,
is very
absolutely.
different.
That is what sets it apart, in spite of the influence from India.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, straight after the war was officially declared over and peace was declared,
Right.
I was lucky enough to be one of the first people to go to Anuradhapura.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating,
It is
the connections. It
True.
also makes you very proud.
Yes.
Like when you go to Angkor and
Yes.
you're standing at Angkor
True.
Wat itself, the
True.
temple,
True.
not Angkor Thom. And you see the churning of the sea and
True.
the manthan,
Yeah.
and you read that India is helping to preserve that.
Very
Yeah,
true.
it is a matter of pride.
Yeah, very true.
Shalini, you know, we talked about Ramayana at length. Yeah. But there's another very important epic, and you've dealt with that in your book, where the son also has a very important role to play. The Mahabharata, Kunti, the boon to Kunti. So tell us about that.
So Kunti she was very young, and she had a lot of patience. So her kingdom was often visited by many saints. And it was going to be visited by Durvasha Rishi, one of the rishis who was known for his anger. So his father thought who could be better than her to look after him, because she had a lot of patience. So he actually asks her that you have to take care of this sage. And she takes care of him really well. So at the end of his trip, and when he was leaving, he gives her this mantra, Vashikaran mantra. And he says that, you can summon any god you like and have a child with the deity. And the child will have the qualities of that deity. Now, I often wonder that definitely through his spiritual knowledge and his basically foresight, he could see that she will need this boon in the future. Because it was not just any boon, it was a boon that she really actually got to exercise when she could not copulate with her husband and was childless. And she uses this boon in the future to have children. So this young girl did not know what to really do at that time with the boon. And she was very playful, and she wanted to experiment whether the boon even meant something. So she's thinking of which god to summon, and suddenly she sees this Surya Dev shining bright in the sky, and she uses the mantra to call him. Now, once he's there, he's ready to grant the boon, but she's scared of being a child, unmarried mother. So she asks him to go back, and he says, I'm sorry, but this boon is not, this mantra is not frivolous. You should have thought of it before reciting it. So that's how she then gets impregnated with Karan, who's born as Suryadev's child. And he's born with kavach and kundal, all golden kavach and kundal as a protection, as an armor. And he grows up to be an illustrious child, even though she had to abandon him at that time. So that is just a story from Mahabharata, which I've mentioned because Karn being a mortal progeny of Suryadev.
Okay, you've read this book, Lopa, and as I said at the start, you deal with not just your anthropology, but with myths, with beliefs, traditions. What in this book appealed to you the most? Which aspect?
I think the story in itself, if you see the part of sun, I mean, why read something about the sun? We keep on talking about starting from, say, solar energy, which we have solar powered cars. It's connecting all of India, and we have charging stations, units. You have Modera, the Sun Temple. In Gujarat, you have Konark, the Sun Temple.
Yeah.
So, what was the reason basically for these sun temples to come up at a point of time? So, Modera was destroyed by Alauddin Khilji around 11th century AD, and once it was ransacked, basically the later on kings, they never built it up because of the belief that once it's destroyed, the Garbhagriha Murti is destroyed, it's not worshipped anymore. So it was left like that, but it's under the protection right now of archaeological survey. And Konark Sun Temple, whatever erosion is taking place, it's more or less well looked after, again, by the archaeology department. So there are numerous stories centered around the sun. What really led India being an agricultural country from time immemorial, you have through Indus Valley, through the Rig Vedic times, you have witnessed stories about how agriculture developed, Iron Age came, Copper and Bronze Age came, and how agriculture developed. Sun has a very important role to play in this. We are nearing the time period of post-Sankranti, when again the sun changes its course, is celebrated again through all the kite flying, everything, different parts of India. Some parts do rejoice, like Gujarat has this splendid festivals and all. So kites basically again connects the belief, the folklore belief is that it's kind of a message from the earth to heaven, connecting, seeking blessings for the next prosperous harvest. So there are snippets of sun's beautiful stories in most of our folklore Mahabharata. I really like this entire story of the whole life story of Karna. I mean, it's such a sad story. I mean, it always resounds somewhere inside, you know. So these are beautiful anecdotes to really think the significance of sun in an agricultural country has been there for not only now, from age-old times. There have been worships, rituals, rites, festivals celebrating that. And I think that is what the book is about, a celebration of this ethos of the sun, the power of the sun, from then till now. And we just need to channelize it in the right direction, of course, for our own benefit. So I think that's it.
I think that's fantastic. And we talked about marrying scientific facts with beliefs in myths, in traditions. And anywhere, whether it's in science or tradition, the sun is seen as a giver of life, as a source of energy, as light. So we're going to have 2 quick answers from you, and then maybe we can take a couple of questions from the audience. You know, you have such a strong belief in the power of Suryadev. And we have this habit in India of treating them like family, like one of us, like a person you can talk to. So if you think of Suryadev giving a message to us in today's world, what do you think it would be?
I think he could probably say, enlighten your within and not just the outside. Yeah. So when your inner self is lightened with knowledge, yes, with hope, I think half the battle is won.
And last thing, just one line. If you had to delineate the essence of this book, The Eternal Sun, The Legacy of Suryadeva, what would that be? One line. What would you like to plug it as?
One word that comes again
one
is,
line. Oh,
okay, one line, is again enlightenment, but I think apart from that, just a line would be, I can't really. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much,
Thank
both
you,
of you.
thank you.
And we
Thank you.
have time for just 2 quick questions, but questions, please, brief and not comments. Anyone? Anyone from the audience? Yai? No. No? Neeta? Yes. Yeah, I'm coming to you. Quick.
Hi, Shalini. The question
Hi,
is to
Nita.
you. Is that you have written many more books apart from what you have written now. Which book is closest to your heart, this one or any other?
Great. I think all the books have their own USP and bring something forth. So I think, like they say, you love all your children. I think none are my favorites, really.
And which is the next, which god or which topic you are going to go next? I would ask this question to both of you, Lopamudra and Shalini, both of you.
Okay, so I think my next book is going to be away from my yawner. It's going to be on tea.
On tea.
Yeah.
The
so
families in tea.
The family's into tea, and that's how.
There's something on agricultural festivals of India I'm working on. So yeah, that's a very huge, large thing. So it's on the pipeline.
Such a
so-
coincidence, tea and agriculture.
Wonderful. Okay, we will have to stop this because as it is, we were running late and we've already gone 10 seconds over time. Thank you so much for sitting through
Thank
this
you, thank
patiently,
you.
encouraging us. Thank you very much. And now for the next session. Over to you. Thanks, AKLF.